What's up, y'all? It's your girl L, and you guys should know what today is. It's JayZ's birthday, and you guys knew I wasn't leaving y'all hanging on this one. So today I'm gonna talk about how he helped me get through my father's murder, helped me understand the lifestyle my father lived. My father be dead 13 years, December 7th. I think that artists don't really understand how influential their music is and how when they speak of their testimonies that are true, or even just storytelling rhymes because back then the stories were so elaborate that you could visualize them in your head and that sometimes they connected to your life. And that was the thing I loved about JayZ was that I felt like the things that he spoke of, especially during 2003, 2000, it was Dynasty, Blueprint 1, Blueprint 2, the peak of his career. He spoke of things that he had experienced and he'd seen around him and the struggle and the bitches, hoes, clothes, all those things. And I felt like my father was that. Not to mention, he put me in the mindset of him. Not just, I don't want to say they look alike, but they favor. Tall and light skin, big lips, big platinum chains, throwback jerseys. So it was like, I felt like he raised me a bit. And I know that may seem weird to some people, but I'm a very analytical person and I have to understand things in order for things to settle for me. So I went many years, probably about 10 years being very confused as to why my father's such a smart man who had been to college and was only 18 credits shy of his bachelor's decided to up and leave. And I understand that he wanted to raise his family. And, you know, it, I felt like although that was his first decision, that the streets just took over his life. And I think that a lot of times, back then, people were in the street life because they felt like that was their only means. It wasn't because it was cool. It was that I was poor. I want to get my mom out the hood. I want to do better for myself and my family. And this is where I know it's fast money, and this is my way to get up out of that. And it went from that to we knee deep in coke, we keep deep in ice, we flood streets with dope, we keep weed to smoke. We all fish, but to teach your folk. And I feel like that was him. That was how he felt. He loved his friends. He loved his family. He loved everybody. And he loved the jewelry. He loved to ride and smoke his blunts. He liked the jewelry. He loved the fast life. He loved the good time. But it wasn't for the love for the game. And those words to me was like, I get it. It was so many songs I would just sit and listen to. And I just remember my father got killed. I asked my mother to take me to Damon's Records on Plymouth and get me the Blueprint. Um, and she was like, what? Why? I'm like, I just want it. Like, I want to listen to the Blueprint. It had recently come out. I want to say I really started liking hip hop a lot when Stillmatic came out. Hence, Illmatic View. But so I went and got that, and we're listening to it, and I would just listen. And I remember back then I had a karaoke machine, and I would be listening, I'd be singing, I'd be rapping, and my favorite, and I actually the Blueprint 2 as well. I remember she took me to get a lot of CDs actually. So I'm listening to the Blueprint 2, and I remember him saying on the song with Faith, I wanted to know the reason he was dead, more money, more problems, but I believe it, he said. And I felt like that because I remember times that we didn't have a lot of money. We were never really struggling to my knowledge. My parents always made sure I went to Catholic schools and dressed nice. But I remember times when he was away at school, my mother was doing what she could do to take care of us. My mother was one of those women that made sure that it wasn't just me and her, it was me, her, and him. And she, by any means necessary, did she take care of my father. And, things changed so drastically when he came home and started getting money. We went from driving a Camry, Thunderbird, to a Benz, a Range Rover, a Vet. And, it's in your 20s, the attention changes. He was a basketball star, he was a football star. But, those type of things they make a difference. You know what I mean? So it had been a turning point where he ended up leaving my household because he was such a habitual cheater. Although he was a good father, he spent a lot of time with me, but he was a habitual cheater. And I remember back then the Dynasty was out, and he played Soon You'll Understand on my mother's voicemail. And my mother wasn't really a hip hop fan. So she's like, what's this? But me and my father, we shared that. We shared music and movies. That was our contrast. That's what we did to connect with one another. Even though I was his daughter, but I was like his son. He wanted to make me a boy so bad. But it was like that was his way to express himself because I don't think that he was a great communicator. And that's what made me even more say, okay, mom, take me to get more albums so I can understand his lifestyle, and like JayZ, my father's father, left his household, addicted to drugs, from my understanding, because I don't even know much about the man. He also felt like he had to take care of his family. A lot of things weighed on his shoulders. Getting money, everybody. He has 8 siblings with his mother. Everybody's needing something, got a handout. He's the type of person who would carry other people's burdens on his shoulders as well. My dad coached basketball at Cody and Central, and we've had some of those guys like live with us. Like he would take that with him. So just he grinded not only for himself, even though he enjoyed it as well. He did it to help other people, and the one thing he always felt like, I would talk to some of his players and they would say, your daddy always encouraged me not to be in the streets. So when Jay said, Hove did that, hopefully you don't have to go through that. And it was always something that was triggering, like, do this man know my life? Like, does he understand what I'm going through? That I lost my father, murdered at 12, had a gun put somebody at 11 years old. Somebody came in and robbed us. Like, that's not normal for kids. So I needed to understand why those tragic things were happening to me. And I felt like JayZ was uttering words of my father's life. And although it probably wasn't literally, but it was like so many things had connected. Just like I said, the women, the streets. It was just so many different things. And it's funny we're going into Song Cry because I remember my father was in Miami when this song came out. Although he had moved on and had a whole new girlfriend, he left my mother for a much younger woman. He played this on her voicemail too. And they shared a bond and a connection that I don't think anybody could erase. And I'm sorry I'm going back and forth into different things, but this is something I'm very passionate about because artists don't understand. They may understand. I don't know if in today's generation they understand that their verbiage is used as instruments to create a fairy tale. And not only just that, not even to create a fairy tale, but sometimes, it's storytelling. Especially back then, hip-hop was storytelling. You can visualize and analyze and see what they were talking about. And that's when I would be like, is this my life? You don't really have that much now. The substance of music and hip-hop isn't really the same. You could picture him saying, I can understand that you want a divorce now, though I can't let you know it, probably won't let me show it, pretend to be heroic. You could visualize him saying that to a woman that he had been with all his life, and I had to leave because I knew that I couldn't keep hurting you. That's how much things like this meant to me. I saw my mother so scorned and so hurt when my father left, and, cheating habitually, having babies after babies, and ultimately still like they still had this relationship where she still was able to do for him when times where he'd be on his knuckles. Because, in hip hop, when Jay say lost 92 bricks, got it all back, got 8 more credit, got more crack from the first to the fifth, that shit happens. I remember my daddy being on his knuckles, not No Shave November, went a whole fucking year. Like I'm grinding it out. I got people to take care of. I got shit I got to do. Shit, I got robbed. Shit's got fucked up on the road. Like I got stuff I got to do. And I just would be like, it's just only my, this isn't just my father's life. This happens to people in the streets. So I just remember the final thing. A couple years ago, I was listening to the Dynasty. Dynasty is one of my favorite. I want to say that is my favorite JayZ album. When he says, I'm still with stuffed. Arms through with a stuff and embalming fluid. So whether I'm dead or in jail. Like, that's my only way out. And that's why I respect JayZ for finding his talent and finding his niche and saying, I'm going to get out this shit and I'm going to do something different because I don't want this to be my life. But everybody isn't that wise to use their talent. My father went to school for broadcast journalism. He instilled that into me. I got my mother's gift of gab and I got my father's impeccable writing skills. Not to toot my own horn, but I was blessed enough to know my father not just as Mooka the street nigga, but I knew him as a father and a smart and a wise man. And it's just that so unfortunate so many people get caught up in this lifestyle. They don't know their purpose in life. They don't know the true meaning of life is not money. It's not fame. It's knowing yourself as a whole, And in the midst of it, more money, more problems, got to move carefully. It's fact is hating you moving money like athletes. Even though I stumbled over that one, but that's what it be. It's jealousy, it's envy, and I'm not sure. And to this day, I'm not sure why my father was killed. I can only guess why, because from my understanding, he was a good guy, But I don't think people understand that when you take somebody when you take them out of this earth, He was a father. He was a son. He was a boyfriend. He was a friend. He was a father figure to his boys, coaching basketball. He was a person. So whatever the ref could have been, was it that serious? But I'm not. I guess that's not for me to understand, because I was always taught women and children don't get involved in those things. I remember a few years ago, though, like I said, I would be so angry at him. I mean, like, mad at him, like being dead. How did you leave me to figure out things on my own? How did you leave me to understand how a man to treat a woman by myself? Luckily, I have my grandfather, but what if I didn't have him? I only figure I seen is that men cheat. You cheat on my mother. Sometimes you were there, sometimes you weren't. Why did you do this to me? I felt like I was being punished, ultimately. And I'm fighting back tears because it's such a passionate thing for me. And people have to understand too, you in the streets for you. I always remember my mother and my father saying, I make penitentiary chances for you. You make penitentiary chances for yourself. Because I don't remember the things you bought me. I remember the memories that we had. I remember the time that we spent together, that you actually paid attention, and you had a conversation with me, and you were interested in what I was doing as your child. Not your mind scattered because you're trying to figure out what's your next move going to be. That's what your children remembers. So for people out in the streets, understand that. And right now, your children don't have people like JayZ to understand and to connect the dots for them. This music now is a fairy tales, you know. But I remember I was picking up my ex from work one day, and I was crying. It probably was around this time of the year where I get emotional. And I was listening to Ballad for the Fallen Soldiers on Blueprint 2. And I just remember the last verse, and that song is really, it does something to me because it reminds me of my grandfather who was in the military, my father that was murdered, my uncles that are in prison, and he says that he ain't always gonna make the right choice, understand, but every choice that he make it for his fam. And although that was his initial thing that he wanted to do, and it didn't quite always turn out that way, I understand that he still left school for me, because he wanted to be the best father he could be. He wanted to be in my life, and he wanted to make sure I had the best life. And it didn't turn out that way, but I understand that those chances, I guess, were for me. And although since I didn't really understand it, and I would be upset that he couldn't be around, and he'd be snappy because things would be going on, but I know my father loved me. And and I can just, if I was to meet JayZ today, I probably would be in tears. I would tell him, thank you for helping me get closure. Because at this time, he had been dead 10 years. Thank you for giving me closure to say, Daddy, I forgive you. Daddy, I wish you were here. I wish things were different. But I'll say this, I don't regret anything. Anything I've been through in my life, it makes me the person I am today. I'm able to give you all this testimony and give you all my experiences at 25 years old and connect and relate to people. People want this lifestyle. They want to say that they were in the street life, but y'all really, it's not what it's all wrapped up to be. And I just remember growing up, I would always say, I don't want a man like my father. And not as in the provider, but as in the street nigga. I always say the difference between a hustler and a street nigga. And it was just a lot. Other things I shouldn't have had to understand as a child. And I know that I had a good family. I had good parents. I had good people around me that really showed me and molded me. And I guess that's why I make the decisions I make today and why I'm the person I am today. Because if I didn't, I could be just as lost as half of these girls out here, or half of these guys out here too. If I didn't fully understand, if I don't think if he wasn't dead and it didn't force me to understand things and figure out that life ain't all peaches and cream, and you can't go get that new techno watch or that platinum chain that you want, or that Pepe outfit, or sometimes you got to work for stuff. My mother made me get a job at 15. I didn't have to, but she said, you're gonna work hard and you're gonna let a guy that has a job. Things turn left with those things too, but so you want stability and you want normality. And I always wondered now, had he went to school and finished school, what would happen? And I remember before he died, he asked me to register him in classes at Wayne State. He wanted to finish his last 18 credits. It's just a lot. So if I can just say that, thank you, Jay. And I know you'll probably never see this, but you helped raise me. You helped mold me. You helped me understand my parents' decisions, my uncle's decisions, why they weren't here. I mean, I could really go on and on about this topic. So hope you guys understand what I was saying. I want artists and people on a platform, not just artists, actors, rappers, singers, vloggers. When people look to you, they follow your direction. They, children, even adults. You'll see people say, I have my hair blonde because Beyonce is blonde. That's how influential you are. So you have people watching you. Don't just live for you when you put yourself on this entertainment platform. You're living for other people. So it's so vital to make sure that, and it's not to say you're living for, how do I want to say that? Because it's not necessarily that you're living for other people, but when God calls you for a purpose, you're serving him, right? Because your purpose in life is to serve God. So if your service is to help other people, then you are living for him and you're living through God. God's living through you, rather. So you have to be mindful of the things that you say, the things that you do, because children are listening. You are their role models. People on television are more role models than their parents are. So you just have to sit back and make sure you're making the best decisions, not only for yourself, but the people around you, because who you are could be up there for somebody else. So they're paying attention, and they want to, they're paying attention. And like I said, I paid attention, and I thank him so much for these albums and the evolution of the man that he has become, from Reasonable Doubt, from Volume 2 to Dynasty to Black Album when he called himself retiring, to even Kingdom Come when people didn't understand the transition he had made as an artist. He couldn't talk about the same shit he talked about in 96. Moving into Kingdom Come. And although it wasn't his favorite album, maybe not anyone else's, but he had grew as a man. And I appreciate that in him, that his artistry has showed us so much over the last 20 years. Even to now, he's such a chameleon when it comes to music, but he's always also stays true to himself, if that makes sense. I could go on. This should be 30 minutes if I kept going about how much I love JayZ, but just, guys, if you're on a platform, you have people watching you, just be careful. Like I said, thank you, Jay, for molding me and making me the woman that I am today, and helping me forgive my father within his death. Your music speaks volumes, and I will forever be grateful for you as an artist, as an entertainer. I'm taking a break from social media, guys, for a minute. I'm trying to get myself together spiritually. I will blog about that come New Year. So happy holidays to you guys. Thank y'all for supporting me. Thank y'all for, believing in me. I know as God has blessed me with this, and I'm so very thankful. So thank y'all so much. I will see y'all come New Year. Subscribe, and please share this. This is something that's very personal for me, and y'all don't even understand. I was crying yesterday thinking about me doing this, and I held it together for y'all, because y'all wasn't gonna see this concealer start dripping. So yes, thank y'all so much. I appreciate you. Peace out.